Well, hello and hi. It's Jennie Wolek with the Wolek Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is your monthly market update. As you know, if you've been following along with me at all, I typically share our year over year market stats. You know, each month our MLS does a beautiful job of creating this 11-page report for us. It's so important that we dive into the data so that we're properly educated so we can share with our clients and the consumers and the public a little bit of info about what is really going on, the reality of real estate in Tulsa, Oklahoma, if you will. But this month, instead of looking year over year, I like to, broaden out the search so that I'm kind of feeling the overall vibe of how we can compare to last year. But I want to really hone in specifically. This past market report was for the month of April. It always lags a little behind us so the data can be collected. And right now we are in the month of May. And so we are absolutely feeling some change ups. It's not scary, but it's something to be updated with in this information to make sure that we're best serving our clients with proper details and data. Now, here's what's going on. So with April's data, we are able to compare month over month for each year, if that makes sense. So back in 2024 in April, versus 2025 this April, I'm going to talk real quick about what the biggest differences are. So for one thing, closed sales are very similar, pretty even on the closed sales. Now in April, we are seeing this April 11% higher pending sales in this month versus last year in the month of April. Now, a lot of things were going on last year. There was definitely some change up and trying to work through the interest rates where that could have put some buyers on the sideline for a little bit to figure out what was going to happen. But now let's look into this year to compare our new listings. So we know that we've had this low inventory for so many years that has put a little bit of a pinch on real estate. That meant that buyers who wanted to buy might not be able to find a home that they are able to buy based on the sales price, their interest rates, things like that. Well, the new listings are about even. That's all right. It just means that we still need more homes to come on the market. Now, the reason this could be is there could be some people out there who are hanging on to that 3% interest rate that they got many years ago, that it is so alluring and enticing to want to hold on to that low interest rate. And maybe you've outgrown that home, or maybe you are just hanging on to that home because of the rate versus it really fitting your family's and needs these days. So, things to consider is that, could now be a good time because you've had such a large amount of appreciation over these past handful of years that you could just move that on over into a new property, have a nice down payment, that everything works out. That's just something to consider. And that's why we're seeing a lot of sellers maybe hanging on when they know they really want to make a move, but they just have a little fear around a little bit higher of an interest rate. Now, remember, over the last 50 years, the average interest rate is around 7.8%. So people have survived with higher interest rates in the past. Okay, now this is something that I really wanted to point out comparing last April to this April. The main difference I am seeing is that the average list price of a property last year, $315,000. This year, $307,000. So that is quite a difference of what sellers were putting their homes on the market for. But what we also, of course, know is important is that it actually sells. And so this difference is that it was $310,000 of a sales price average in the Tulsa MLS area last year. And this year, the average sales price in April 2025, 301,888. That is right, just barely over 300,000. That is a big drop from where we had been even just a year ago. So why is that happening? Well, again, we have seen a little bit of slowdown. Now, the average list price to sales price is a little bit less than it was. So it's about 98.21%. So this is telling us though that when a home is put on the market and properly priced to attract a buyer, the seller is still needing to negotiate a little bit. So that 2% off of the sales price might be coming just down on the price, but maybe inside of that price, sometimes this happens, there are concessions that are given that may not be reflected in the sales price. For example, sometimes a buyer may pay closer to the listing price or at listing price, but inside of the terms, maybe the seller is helping out with some of their closing costs, which could be five to $10,000 that we just aren't seeing from this data. So something to always pay attention to and ask about. That's why you work with us professionals, because we can tell you what's really going on inside of it. But the biggest thing that's going on inside of our market report from last year, April to this year, April, average days on market to sell. This is the day it goes on the market until the day that it goes under contract. That clock ticks, and the more time that it takes to get your home under contract, we see from statistics and from education and from experience that usually a seller will need to make price adjustments along the way to get back in front of those ready, willing, and able buyers. So pricing out of the gate right from the start with a smart strategic approach is the best way to go. And if we've missed that mark because the market has a little bit of ups and downs or changes or lulls, which seasonally always happens, you got to still act fast. You got to act fast. We actually know that no one will ever be homeless if we are helping them through the process. And we know also, though, that you'll never undersell your property. It will always work to where the market is determining the value, what the buyer and the seller agree on as the proper terms. So that's what I wanted to share with you this month. Days on market is increasing, nothing to be afraid of. It is just the reality of how things go, but we want to be smart and strategic when properly pricing your home from the start so that you make sure and win the contest and beat out all those other homes that are coming on the market at the same time. If you're a buyer in today's market, this could offer you some new opportunities. Maybe you can get a little bit of your costs paid for or buy a little bit more of a home than you had in the past few years. So either way, we're here to help you. We're here to analyze this data and help you best set yourself up for success with real estate in Tulsa. Talk to you soon.